Hello again. Okay, so this is part two, piece part two, because a really beautiful dear friend of mine made the comment that my stuff is too positive, which I don't necessarily agree, but I trust that she's got a point because she's real like that. And so I do feel a lot of peace, but I also want to acknowledge and discuss a little bit the darkness, the shadow, the fear, the pain, the ugly stuff. Because I don't want to paint this artificial picture that my life is perfect all the time, or that I'm just peaceful all the time, or that, I don't know if I do or not, but it's never my intention to make it seem like I don't, experience really painful and challenging things, because I'm human, so therefore I'm in the same boat as everyone else, I think it's just a matter of, it's a matter of perspective in a way, in commitment. There's definitely an importance in being willing to face darkness, especially darkness within yourself, and perhaps even more importantly, what you believe. What do you believe about the darkness? Because I think it's something I've just been realizing, and I'm going to get into this. I just want to share how I deal with darkness and what works for me, and maybe what doesn't work. I truly think that, when you shine light in the darkness, when you light a candle in a dark room, it illuminates everything. Darkness does not have its own unique characteristics. However, when we're afraid of the dark, we project anything onto the dark. So this is when we get into reality itself. And I truly, with every fiber of my being, believe and really know that we create our reality, you guys. Don't discount how powerful you are, how powerful your mind is. And, the fact that we were born into very dense human conditioning, my friends. And so we pick up this conditioning, this fear, these nightmares, these stories, all of this stuff that we kind of jump into when we're born here. So don't take it personally. But something I've been learning and noticing is that the things that torture us the most aren't necessarily the circumstances, but it's what we project onto the circumstances. And I'm talking about your real life, your actual experience, not something that you're reading on the internet about someone else's experience. Your mind has the power to create heaven or hell. How to explain this? What I'm trying to say. Let me just sit with this for a second. We can sit with this together. I really want to. What I'm sharing is the answer, at least to what I'm sharing for me, and for anyone who's resonating with me, is really what I shared in the first video about peace. You have to pull yourself out of hell. There's really no other way around it. You have to pull yourself out of hell. And you do that by committing to God, committing to who you really are, committing to presence, and choosing to be aware and just have the willingness to see through your own dream, see through your own nightmares, see through your own stories. Everything that is not eternal, everything that is not, let me say it this way, and this is how they say it in the Course of Miracles. Anything that is real cannot be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. You cannot be threatened. What you truly are as eternal God, that's what you are when you wake up and remember, cannot be harmed by anything of this world. Jesus knew that, that's what the resurrection, I think, is all about, right? And it's not just about Jesus, it's about you, because we're all one, me and you and all of our brothers and sisters. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense. So like in that, when you understand that, fear and these nightmares and these things, they don't really exist. They're real to you when you are making them real. They exist in this transient dream. But how do we bring God into that? By being miracle minded, not by fearing it, not by giving our power away to it, not by being attacking and hateful. That's how you get back into the mess, into the illusion. And you can do that, and that's fine, because you never left the kingdom of God. You never left. You were never separate. You're always, that's what I'm trying to say. Nothing could ever take you away from God. Nothing. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. That's what you are. You can go into the deepest rabbit hole of disassociation from that in your ego mind for as long as you want, and do as much damage as you possibly can and see how far you could possibly take it, which is what I think we're in as a collective, and that's what we're coming out of. And you're still not going to even come close to separating yourself from God for real. But in your mind, in your disassociated, insane ego mind, you can experience what it's like to be separate from God, to be empty, to be afraid, to be powerless, to be weak, to be impotent, to be in this horrible suffering stuff that we've concocted in this dream. It's not really reality because it's not real. And I know that might sound harsh and that triggers people. It might trigger your ego. I can feel that, but it's worth considering because it will set you free. And what could be agitated but the ego? God doesn't get agitated. God doesn't get afraid. It's all a false self that you created. So stop creating false selves. Stop entertaining the false self. The thing about the false self, the ego, the fear, the suffering, the hatred, the deprivation, the illusion, none of this is real. None of this is actually real in God, in the kingdom, which is where you always are and where you will return no matter what eventually. Let the false self go. See it. Honor it. Love it. Let it pass away if you want to be free. If you're tired of the game of suffering and lack. That's all you can do. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Because that fear, that false self, it doesn't really exist. So what does it do? It does whatever it possibly can to try to protect its false existence. Look at it. You can't unsee it in yourself, in your thoughts, in your narrative, in your mind. Anything that provokes fear or illusion in you, you cannot unsee it once you get what I'm saying. It doesn't mean you won't feel things. It doesn't mean you won't... Anything like you feel emotionally, you just sometimes have to release and purge, because it's like energy that has to come out. Like, it rains and then the rain passes. It's fine. It's not a big deal. A lot of this stuff will just come through you like a wave and pass. You don't have to fixate on it and grab onto it and be like, oh, what does it mean? It probably doesn't really mean anything. Really. I mean, you can play that game and go into the story and entertain yourself. That's fine. You know, you can do whatever you want. God's not going to fault you. God's not going to abandon you, because God never could abandon you, and God never would. It's impossible. Just like you could never abandon God, really. But you can dream that you have abandoned God. And we do that because it's interesting. It's exciting. It has been exciting. But if you're watching this and you're like me, you're tired of it. You're tired of it. It feels like we've had enough. You know, I'd rather take the boring, everlasting peace and joy. Not literally boring. It's not boring. But it's boring to the ego, because it annihilates the ego. Than the drama and the stories and all this stuff, which, you know, that's what keeps the ego alive. Notice, this is all you really have to do, how the false self, the ego, will do whatever it can to preserve itself. And that's its whole prerogative. And it is insane, because it doesn't really exist. It's a disassociation from what you really are. So, I don't know, I hope that helps. It doesn't, so paradise is now. Paradise is now. We never left paradise. It's here now. It's so simple. You can only access it now. as far as the artificial layer on top of it, that's all being revealed now. You know, it's when you're present and you follow God and you continue to find this, and not find it because it's already here. You just really practice coming back home, I guess. The ego self that causes you all this suffering and pain will just start to be more clear and obvious. And you start to make the choice, you know, realize you're making the choice. Are you going to pledge your allegiance to the ego or to God? It's totally up to you. Do you like your suffering? Do you love your suffering? I mean, you know, again, last thing I'll say. Oh, I don't know if you heard the bird. He thought it was funny. It doesn't mean it's always perfect. Paradise is now, even when it rains, even when it storms. It's like nothing real can be threatened. Nobody can deprive you of God. So what's there to worry about? That's all that's real. That's all we really want is love, is God, is that. We think we want these things, but really we just want more love. We want God. We want truth, right? And nobody can take that from you. No event, nothing of this world could take that from you. Nothing of this world could hurt the real you, and you could never hurt the real God in anybody. Only the ego. It's only the ego that gets hurt. And I say that gently and compassionately as I can. You know, if you're really, really identifying with this human, you're really identifying as a person in this world, then you might be agitated and offended by what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to invalidate you, because there's different levels to this. But I'm just trying to spread codes of liberation, really. That's what it's all about at this point. And it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. Just unconditional love for yourself. And when the false self rears its head, it feels attacked, it feels abandoned, it feels hateful, it wants to attack, it feels that it has been attacked, it feels overwhelmed, it doesn't know what to do. It's in grief, it's in anger, it's in sorrow, it's in shame. Just hold space for it. Just see it and love it and have compassion for it. And last thing is practice being miracle minded, which is being in your right mind, which is knowing that you are God in form, and everything you see and shine your light of awareness onto has the potential to be healed by you seeing it when you know that and you intend that. That's miracle mindedness versus seeing fearful things and giving into the fear and the victimhood and, oh my God, that's so scary, getting sucked into it. Being miracle minded is shining your light onto it unafraid and remembering who you are. Whether it's the darkness in yourself, it's the darkness in other beings, it's the darkness in the world, shine your freaking light on that. Practice it. Don't be afraid of yourself. Don't be afraid of what you really are. Only the ego can be afraid of what you really are, which is eternal, infinite light of God. Wholeness. You know? Let's see, I gotta wrap this up. I hope that's helpful. I don't want to give the illusion everything is always perfect, but that's the paradox, is it is always perfect. And that perfection shines on that which is the illusion, I guess. And you can feel everything, you can have these thoughts. It's just coming into this awareness and seeing it all from a new perspective. Just practice. And I hope this makes sense. Please share. If it doesn't, I just want to be helpful. So, I know that we're all moving through darkness and density, and it's hard and confusing, and you can get caught up in these loops. So all I want is just to help you, because you are me, and we're the same. We're we, really, to keep coming out of hell into heaven, because that's really what I think we desire. All right, I love you all. Bye.